been a rough day. I haven't talked to my friend Al for a while because I'm sure I've messed up again with him and I've ruined our friendship, and I'm sure he'll never want to talk to me again.
It's been a rough day. My friend Pastor Steve hadn't talked to me for a while, and I think he's afraid to try, all because of what happened yesterday.
See, it really all started yesterday. Al had this really cool comic book that I wanted to look at, and I knew it was important to him. He even kept it in one of those slick, clear plastic bags to keep it safe, and I knew he had bought it to read it himself. But I really like Batman, and, well, I asked him if I could read it first.
See, I had this comic book, and I was going to look at it, but, well, you know how Pastor Steve really likes his Batman comics. And he's my friend, and friends are more important than comic books, so even though I wanted to read it first and then store that comic book in my collection of treasures, I let him take it for the day.
Well, I had taken that comic book outside to go read it. It was a nice day to go out on the front step with a cup of coffee and catch up on my favorite Caped Crusader. Well, I was startled by the action and the story and the comic, and while my mouth was full of coffee, I gasped and spit it out all over Al's comic book. It was ruined. Dark roast all over the dark night, and coffee stains on the bat signal. I knew Al would be disappointed with me. So I got up, got in my car, and drove away for a while. I couldn't tell Al. I was sure he would be so upset with me for ruining the comic book he'd gotten for himself. I just couldn't face him. So I went off for a drive so I wouldn't have to tell him what I had done.
It wasn't long after Pastor Steve borrowed my comic book that I heard him out front going to the front step to read it. And it wasn't after that too long before I heard two very distinct sounds. The splashing of something wet hitting a concrete step, like someone had, spit something out, and the sound of a car starting. I went outside to the front entrance of the house, and I could see my comic book all brown and dripping wet, and a puddle on the step, and no sign of Pastor Steve. I knew he'd gone. I could easily guess what happened. My head may be full of stuffing, but I'm no dummy.
So anyway, that was this morning, and I've been avoiding Al ever since. I tried going to buy him a replacement copy of his comic book, but they were all out of that issue at the comic book store, and I didn't have any cash on hand. I drove around with nowhere really to go, but then I realized that if I stayed away all day and all night, I'd eventually have to find somewhere to sleep. I didn't really want to sleep in the car, and I was getting pretty hungry. I snuck back here to the house and sat here on the couch trying to think of a plan. That's when it hit me. I had an idea. I would go find Al and I would tell him, Aloysius P. McStrufflemonk, I'm not worthy to be your friend anymore, but I messed up and I ruined your comic book, and I would like to do extra housework and favors so I can try and earn back the money and that it would take to buy you a new one. And in the meantime, I'll sleep here on the couch and I'll leave the house early in the morning so you don't have to see me. Surely something like that will work.
Well, I figured Pastor Steve was going to go mope around for a while, but I kept looking out the window for his car to see if he was coming back. Sure enough, he came traipsing in and plopped down on the couch. Sounds like he's been talking to himself, but I think he's working on some kind of speech. I went over to let him know I was here if he wanted to talk, but he didn't notice me. His head was down and his hands and knees, and I think he was pretty focused on himself and feeling bad. I thought he might need some space for a minute.
So I've just been here on the couch ever since, just sort of waiting to work up the nerve to go find Al, if he'll even be willing to look me in the eye or be willing to be in the same room as me with me. Just when I think I've gotten up the courage to go find him, I chicken out again and I freeze up. Aww. What am I gonna do?
Maybe you could just turn around.
What?
Maybe you should just turn around.
Al?
Pastor Steve?
Al?
Pastor Steve?
Oh my goodness. He's right here, isn't he?
Pastor Steve?
He's been sitting right next to me, right behind me, and I didn't even feel it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, I have to remember my speech. What was I going to say? What was I going to say? Now, how was I going to try and earn my way back into his friendship? Oh, right, it was going to start. Aloysius P. McStrufflemonk, I'm not worthy to be your friend anymore.
Pastor Steve, not another word. You never stop being my friend. Or at least, I never stop being yours. I know you spilled coffee on my comic book, and I forgive you. Here, now I've got 2 other comic books for you to read right over there, alright? All is forgiven. You were never outside my friendship. You were never outside my forgiveness. And I've been here with you too while you were feeling sorry for yourself for quite a while too.
Oh, Al, I don't know what to say.
Maybe you don't need to worry about saying anything. You turned around like I said, and I was right here. Hey, how about we read these 2 new comic books I got for you here, right here now?
I would like that a lot, Al. I would like that a lot. How did you ever decide you could forgive me like this?
Oh, Pastor Steve, seems like you've still got a lot to learn. Hey, tell you what, after we're done with these 2 comic books, I think I've got a story to read you from the Bible, from Luke 15.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Does it have pictures?
No, but I'll read all the big words for you, alright? How about that? Now here, let's check out this here comic book here, alright? Okay.